It's your favorite gold miner, prospector, and geologist, Jeff Williams. And today we're gonna go over my 10 secret spots to find gold. So let's get into it. All right, coming in at number 1 is gold in Home Depot sand. Now I know you guys seen a million videos on gold in Home Depot sand, in and low sand. Now you're not gonna get rich by any stretch of the imagination, but it proves the point that there is gold in that sand. And we've made many videos on this. In fact, some of the earliest videos we ever shot was finding gold in Home Depot sand. It looks something like this. Hey everybody, Jeff Williams here with AskJeffWilliams.com. And I know you're thinking, Jeff, you're in the parking lot. There can't be no gold out there, and that's where you'd be wrong. So what we did is we went in there and got 3 50-pounders of general purpose sand. And we're gonna take it back to the shop and see if we got some gold. So here we go. Away. Ooh, there's something red. I don't know what that is. See if I can shake that down for you. Well, there's a little bit of gold. What do you know? Old George wasn't kidding. Woo, look at that. I don't know if you can see it. There's a nice flake right there. Yeah, that ain't that bad. There's another little piece right there. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Right there. And all those fines right up there in the corner. Oh yeah, look at that. That's a nice piece. Whole bunch of little fines in there too. See that? Ain't half bad. I'll take that.
Hi.
Are you ready to gold mine?
Yes, I am.
I'm gonna use a jackhammer, and you can use this. Okay.
Yeah, right. And number 2, gold mills and stem mills.
Believe it or not, there is still a lot of gold left behind in these old ball mills and stamp mills. This is a good example of a batch mill. You have this small opening here and a plate that goes over it. You charge it with a load of ore, and you can also put your balls in there too. Run it around for a couple hours, turn it upside down. You have a mesh here to catch the balls, and then all your powdered ore, which is mixed with water, comes out the bottom. And these little guys right here, those are the dies and those are the shoes. See that? And the ore comes in from the back, and there's always a screen here. That's what these are for right here. The screen would lock into place, and the ore couldn't come out of there until it was pounded to a pulp. When you find these old ball mills or stamp mills, go ahead and pull the armor plates out of the ball mills. I know it's gonna be a hard job to do because a lot of the bolts on the outside are rusted shut, but a lot of your gold, your free mill gold, is gonna be trapped in between those plates, and you're not gonna be able to fish it out until you take those plates out. Now, as far as the stamp mill goes, you be careful with those stamps. I've seen many men stick their hand in there trying to fish out some large pieces of flattened gold, only to have their hand flattened by 1,500 pounds of force, and then later have to have it amputated, because a lot of those stamps are just waiting to drop. Now the next one is beaches and coastal areas. Now I know that sounds like an unlikely place, but believe it or not, there's a ton of fine gold on some of these beaches that you can collect up every day, and some people have found tons of it. Think back to the gold rushes of Alaska, on the beaches of Nome. You can still go there to this day and find tons of gold in the beach sand. In fact, there's places in Southwest Oregon on their beaches that you can go to get gold, and I'll leave those links down below so you can go check it out. Most of the gold that you find on Gold Beach in southern Oregon is derived from the Rogue River, which passes right through the area and then flows into the Pacific Ocean. The best place to look for gold along Gold Beach is south of Coos Bay. Another great place to look for placer gold along beaches is Lake Superior. Areas that are known for higher than average concentrations of placer gold along the shores of Baraga, Marquette, and Algera counties. You always have a good chance of finding some placer gold there. Matter of fact, there's a guy who that's all he does is mine the gold off the beaches off of Lake Superior. I'm sure you've heard of his channel. It's Flower Gold Wizards. And like I said, I'll leave a link down below.
And number 4, Outwash zones from terminal moraines.
In the various ice ages that occurred throughout the history of our planet, glaciers grew and moved over the landscape. They scraped across the earth, breaking apart rocks and topsoil, some of which contain gold and other important minerals that are carried along for the distance. Some gold moved hundreds if not thousands of miles from its original source, which was usually Canada. When the glaciers finally did melt, they left behind huge piles of boulders, rocks, and debris that contain gold and other important minerals. Now keep in mind that this gold is going to be extremely fine from the constant grinding and pounding that it was subjected to while it was being
being transported by glaciers. The best way to hunt for this type of gold is to find a glacial map of your state and prospect the creeks and rivers that cut through the outwash of the terminal moraine.
Now, when I say outwash zones of terminal moraines, I'm talking about the glacial pushes that happened during the Ice Age when you had a lot of advancement and retreating. I don't want to fall into the worm pit. All right, coming in at number 5, one of my favorites, of course, is old drift mines. Now, Chinese drift mines, or drift mines in general, can be a very, very rich place to find gold. And of course, this is a prime example of it. We have found pounds and pounds of gold down here, and in fact, we give it all away, but I'll tell you about that later. So, how do you find these drift mines? Look around at some of these old placer diggings, and you're gonna look for any of these small, looks like coyote holes. They're real tiny holes, and most of them are round. The Chinese like to dig round holes because they were superstitious about having corners in their shafts or their drifts because they were afraid that maybe spirits would live in those corners. The really common place to find old Chinese diggings is out in Osceola. What are you doing in there, Sonny Jim?
We're getting gold.
It looks like you're in one of those old Chinese tunnels.
We're trying to find big gold underneath big rocks.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice in here. And it keeps, look at that. Oh man, it goes way back in another cavity.
Sure gosh.
And that dirt gets nice and red. You see that?
That's the next bucket.
Gravel look good, Kimosabe. Me think I'm digging here. Now the nice thing about drift mines is that you know if you're metal detecting down there, anything you find is most likely gonna be gold because there's no other metal down there. And because it's virgin territory, chances are you could hit an old river channel like we did and just find tons and tons of gold nuggets sitting in there just waiting to be discovered. It's like you're having your own gold rush from 1849. Now I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link down below to how we found this drift mine so you can go out and find your own too.
And number 6, old hydraulic pits.
You can still find gold nuggets and placer gold around these old hydraulic pits in the Motherlode country. In fact, Chris Ralph does it all the time.
The Pacific Mine at Last Chance, California. That hillside is no ordinary pile of rocks. That's the bed of a river that flowed over 30 million years ago in a time that the geologists called the Tertiary period. And that river carried gold down from the higher mountains. But later, a giant upheaval of earth came along and buried many of these rivers. They disappeared under tons of newer earth, and the gold that was in them was buried as well. This riverbed, along with many others, was eventually uncovered by new rivers that cut deep channels so deep that they crossed the old rivers. And wherever this happened, a little of the tertiary gold leaked out and gave the miners their first clue of where the gold was hiding. The miners knew that if they could just get the gold loose from the hillsides, they could easily separate the gold from the gravel by running the aggregate through long sluices, pushed along by stream water. The miners fired enormous blasts of water against those old riverbanks and let them roll down through their sluices and over the riffles, carried by this new man-made river. All this was made possible by the invention of a single piece of equipment, a water cannon, fashioned after a Civil War artillery piece. These cannons were called monitors, and this particular type was affectionately called the Little Giant. This Little Giant was first built for the Omega mine nearly 100 years ago, and is still being used today by Bill Wilson. It weighs 1.5 tons, and yet one man can make it move as gracefully as a ballet dancer. The trick lies in the ball joint up front that holds the nozzle. The power to direct the cannon up and down and from side to side comes from the backlash or counterforce of the water jet blasting out of the nozzle. Cleanup block they smelted from the hydraulicking of 1 month, January 1882.
The old timers were smart, so what they would do is they would tunnel through the bedrock and come up into the pits like a giant bathtub. And then they would just wash everything down into these tunnels, and then they would have massive, massive sluice boxes inside the tunnels to collect up all the gold. That's where you should be looking. Coming in at number 7 are fresh road cuts. These are some of the best places that I like to look for new gold deposits because a lot of these logging roads or new construction zones that are cut their way through the Motherlode country can tap into unknown reserves or new gold deposits that nobody ever thought about looking for. Road cuts are really important. You can see where they put this Highway 50 in here, and they cut through this side here of limestone. What was inside of it? This huge granitic mass, quartz monzonite, which has been altered. I've got the limestone, which is the Ely limestone, on the outside of it. When you see these things, be safe about it. You're gonna sample them. You're gonna sample across them, because that way you get an idea. If you find gold, and then you gotta localize it. Was it on the outer halo, the outer band, or was it more towards the center? Some of that ground up gold in there. Oh, that's looking nice. That's looking real nice. All right, coming in at number 8 is CPUs and fingerboards. Now, I know you're saying, Jeff, that has nothing to do with gold mining, and that's where you'd be wrong. Actually, they do a lot of gold mining on old computer parts. There's tons and tons of precious metals from the old motherboards and fingerboards. Now, what I would recommend to you is to try to gather up as many fingerboards and CPUs that you can. The older ones, the newer ones don't have as much gold in them, and you're gonna process that gold off of them. Now, it can be very, very dangerous because you're working with nitric and hydrochloric acid.
Two main ingredients are 70% nitric acid and 30 to 35% hydrochloric acid. Aqua Regia actually puts gold in solution, and when gold is in solution, it looks like this. After it's rinsed, this is what gold powder looks like, which can be put in a crucible and simply melted down into a small gold button. In fact, here's a video of us in the later stages of making one of those buttons. Get this out of there without marking it up too bad. Plop that thing down there. Wow, 11.6 grams. So unless you're really proficient at using acids, I wouldn't recommend this one. But if you are curious on how it's done, there's a guy out there by the name of Sri Tips, and he's a professional at chemically extracting gold from these old motherboards. Now, Sri Tips has been doing this since September of 2010. He said it started as a hobby, and still to this day, it's mostly that's what it is for him. He's extremely knowledgeable in this field. In fact, he's made countless videos on gold extraction from computer parts and scrap, using Aqua Regia and other chemical techniques that most people have never even heard of. If you get a chance, I strongly suggest you go check out his videos. Now, in this particular video, he's going into great detail about why you should not use the commonly accepted percentage ratios that you use to create Aqua Regia. He's extremely advanced in developing new techniques for using acids and bases for extracting gold from computer parts, among other things.
And number 9, Culvert pipes.
Now, I know a lot of you guys know about Culvert pipes, but there's a large percentage of people out there that don't. These Culvert pipes have to be in gold producing districts to work. And what happens is they act like giant sluice boxes.
Keep in mind that most of the gold concentrations, like in a sluice box, is going to be at the head of these drainage culverts, not at the tail. That's where you want to focus all your attention, and the sluice box if you decide to mount one in there.
If you've got these type of corrugated pipe that run under the street, go to the head of them and sample there. These are like mini sluice boxes, and they're going to capture any gold at the first 3 feet. In fact, I know some people who actually weld in a sluice box and then put gates on it. And the best type of sluice box to use for this type of operation is a Keen A52S, because it has a built-in classifier in it. Looks something like this. First thing you're gonna notice about this new Keen A52S sluice is it's got a grizzly right up on top, a classifier. That's what makes it unique. Dump stuff in, you don't have to classify. This does all the work for you. Yeah, I'm really gonna get wet. See if I can tap that up to the top for you. Super fines, ultra fines running all through there. You see that? You got a big chunker right there. See that? And coming in at number 10 is old hard rock mines, especially if they were closed down because of Executive Order L208. Now, believe it or not, you can still find extremely rich gold mines out there that were abandoned because of Executive Order L208. And the way that you find these mines is that you look to find out when it was shut down. If you see 1942 on the shutdown date, chances are it was shut down because of Executive Order L208. The reason why they were shut down is because of the War Act. They weren't part of the essential metals that were needed for World War II. After the war was over, the US found that it was cheaper to get their gold and silver offshore than it was to have it here in the United States. And not only that, a lot of the men that went to war never came back, so there was a labor shortage. On top of all that, you had a lot of money that was needed to get the old mines started again because they had been sitting idle for so many years. So a lot of these mines still have the gold
gold left in them that was never pulled out because of that. One of our richest gold mines that we have is because of that. It looks something like this. What are you doing up there, Jason?
We're finding lots of gold.
Yeah, lots of gold, baby.
Yeah. Here we go, Jeff.
All right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude.
You finding it?
That's the, oh my God, look at that piece. All right.
Yeah.
That little red hematite back there.
Yeah, this little.
What are you gonna do about your hanging wall? It looks like it's gonna block you here in a minute.
I know. I'm hoping Max can come up, do all the hard work, and then I can come back and get the vug.
Good job. Piece of gold right. Oh yeah, there's gold right up all through there. See that?
I think there's a fine gold pile right down here too. Isn't
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's gold in there.
All right.
there? Yeah, right over there.
All right. Yeah, that's the. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! I've never seen anything like it.
Oh! Wow. Hey, you got pretty good at that.
Yeah, that's some practice.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's not your first rodeo.
Look at it.
Nice.
And this is from like 2 handfuls, right? This is just
I
a
just
little,
made a tiny little
Wow.
little scoop.
Oh, rough and nasty. My favorite.
That's some of the richest I've ever seen.
That's incredibly rich. Last week when we were down here, my wife pulled out this beautiful looking nugget right here. Now I'll put a snapshot of that up so you can get a better look at it because GoPros suck at getting close-ups. All these nuggets we're finding, we're giving away to our premium patrons. And not only that, we give them bags and bags of pay dirt from the first 6 inches that's sitting on top of these cemented caliche beds. And we give away a Gold Monster metal detector every month. So if you want to get involved with that, all you got to do is look for what? So we need a little icon at the end of the video that looks like what? It looks like that. Smash it hard. Make a $10 pledge and you're in like Flynn. And we'll see you on the next video. Mwah.